Hey, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gent. It's been quite a bit of time since I've done a live stream. The last one I did was almost, I'd say, like 8 months ago in July. I'll be honest, I want to give you guys an update. A lot of things have changed for me. I had some health issues in December. I got burnt out actually in July. So, I had a lot of traveling. I had a lot of travel happening in August. Honestly, I'm all over the place, but I am back to streaming. I will be streaming consistently. I'm going to be focusing on that a lot more, especially during this time, because I think this is going to be, I don't want to call it a once in a lifetime opportunity, but once every 4 years, you have the opportunity to get positioned into the market. You really have to take advantage of this, because if you don't, you end up chasing after the fact. So I'm going to talk about all this and more today, but first let's just go through exactly what happened with me. So in July, I was doing a ton of stuff. Kaito was still going on. There was no incentive to post on YouTube anymore, so I was just putting out content. At the same time, as you guys know, I have a private group that always takes precedent and priority. So every single chance I got, I made sure that those individuals were taken care of first. Why is the music not going on? Music on? Oh, there we go. The music was just a little light. So, like I said, it's been a while since I've done this. But basically, I focused on the Web3 Secret Society, and I just didn't have the bandwidth to do anything else. I was traveling, and, surprise, surprise, the market crashed. Now, this was something that I wish I was able to share with you guys. Let me just share my screen. I actually shared this with the private group. I let them know in August that I believe that we were basically topping. So that was even 2 months ahead of the top. At this point, I was 80% out of the market. I had basically sold 80% of my spot bags and held the remaining 20% until we inevitably broke through the 50-week moving average back here in November. When this happened, I cut all my positions, let the group know, and basically ever since, I was writing down some shorts all the way down to around this area where I closed my shorts 3 weeks ago. And, ever since, I've been waiting for an opportunity to get positioned. That opportunity still has not come. But, throughout that whole thing, I wanted to make sure that, I didn't leave you guys high and dry. So I did post a bit on Twitter. But obviously, it will never be the same as getting kind of direct access to me. So I want to be back here streaming consistently. I want to make sure you guys have an opportunity to ask any questions whenever you need. And that's pretty much the bulk of the update. The last part I'll just say is I had elective surgery in the end of December, and I ended up getting rhabdomyolysis from it. So for those of you who don't know what that is, basically, it's basically like a muscle death sequence. And I was hospitalized in the ICU for about a week or so. Wasn't able to eat, was not able to move. My shoulders, all my muscles were deteriorating. And I was basically, I'll be honest, spent most of December and early January eating McDonald's and ice cream. Fortunately, that period is over. I've somewhat recovered through lots of physio, going about 2 to 3 times a week. Got a very, very good physiotherapist here in Dubai. And as you can see behind me, we got a new location. I have moved as well. So I finished moving at the end of last week. So I moved during the weekend finally, and basically there's a lot more light here. It's a bit of a different style of place. I'm no longer in the core of Dubai, still in Dubai, but not the core of Dubai. And the internet here is way better. So makes it a lot more conducive to streaming. The light's better. Before I felt like I was streaming in the dark. I don't know if you look at other videos I've done, you probably see harder to see me. that won't be the case, and there's a bit more room in these rooms. And this is like, no longer am I streaming from my bedroom like I was months ago. So that's another change as well. Okay, one more thing I want to let you guys know, and I'm gonna let you guys know this because I did increase the prices of the private group. It is no longer $30 a month. So anybody who wants to join will have to pay the new price of $50 a month. Honestly, I know this is going to sound a little biased, but I do think this is some of the best value you can get. Let me tell you why. Being the fact that you guys are in crypto or investing, there's a lot of bullshit information out there. There's a lot of charlatans out there. These are people you cannot trust. They don't have your best interest at heart. Go on X. What you will see consistently is people will sell you advice or give you advice, and it's terrible. And then the other ones will tell you to, do something after the fact. So like, I shorted Bitcoin above 120K, let people in our private group know. Guess what? People started telling you to open your shorts up around 70 to 80K, which, if you did, you probably got shaken out because there's a lot of kind of rallies that happened since then. So I have this one sort of belief, which is by the time you're seeing it on X, even on YouTube, you're no longer early. You're basically the exit liquidity. This happens for trading. This happens for, buying tokens. Most of the time, you're going to be late. Now, fortunately for live streams, because when I'm doing them live, I'm talking about the current market, that's not going to be late. But that being said, I'm not going to come on every day and make a video when I'm sort of giving instructions and guidance within the group. And because of that, I believe, if you look at here, it's, some of the reviews I've gotten, we did move from Patreon to WAP, so it's only been open for about 2 months on here. But you can see here, people are sharing their experience. And if you want to go ahead, you can, if you click on the WAP link in the description below, you can actually see, the reviews for yourself and sort of get an idea of exactly what people are saying. If there's value in here, let me tell you something. When I first launched this group, the first comments that I received around it was, oh my God, the Brown Gent's charging $20 or $30 for a private group. He must suck. He must not be able to make it in crypto. It's not worth it. Let me tell you something. My time is worth a lot more than that. And the price of this group will continue to go up. I grandfather the people who are currently in there. And honestly, the proof is in the pudding, right? Like, there are people who joined the group and they didn't keep up, didn't do whatever. They left the group after a month, after a few months. And I honestly think a lot of people want to make thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're not willing to invest in yourself. So my thing to you guys, if you're on the fence, I think give it a shot. I don't want to say I'm biased, which obviously I am, but I do think it is the best private group that you can get at this price point. Don't get me wrong, there are some masterminds you can join for a couple $1,000s per year, but I think that's a significant investment. And one of the things I always tell people is you don't want a group that you're joining to cost you like your ability to actually perform in the market, right? You want to use that capital in the market. Okay, so that's my sort of pitch. That being said, let's talk about the market here for crypto, okay? So as always, we look at the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is our anchor. I know I got a lot of flack in 22 and 23 for just buying Bitcoin, and then later in early 24 buying Sol and Ethereum, and not just sort of fast forwarding to altcoins. Well, ironically, I was sort of proven right, because there was no point in time where we had an alt season. We didn't really have those outsized returns. Kind of not surprising, because one of the things I constantly reinforced is that crypto went from being a place where you could just put your money in anything and a rising tide lifts all boats. What ended up happening was there were just way too many tokens being created, right? Like every team wanted to make an Ethereum L2, right? How many did we see, right? Prona, Monad, blah, 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 right? Hundreds of them. But even beyond that, tons of tokens. There's just way too many tokens, not enough liquidity. And what happens when this happens? Well, you don't really get anyone having critical mass in any specific token. There's way too many for those to go up. Compare that to like 2017, 2020, where you had like 50 to a couple hundred tokens, and they were the only ones listed on centralized exchanges. People would go on and, okay, great, I can pick from 1 to 50 tokens. So obviously those things pumped. That's no longer the case. It's now a skill game where you have to identify the outperformers. And I have already identified what those 3 outperformers will be. Not going to share that right now on here because that is for the private group. Got to keep something for them. Otherwise, I want to obviously reward those who support me. So there's going to be a post very soon around that and sort of why specifically these 3 tokens. But even if you're not part of the private group, the first thing I'm going to tell you to do, just buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin should be the cornerstone of any portfolio that you have. And the reason for that is this is solid. It is finite, and it is going to keep going up and to the right given enough time. And I do want to say that nothing I say here is financial advice, obviously. So everything that I talk about is for education only. But that being said, if you just take a look at the trend of Bitcoin, we have these 4-year cycles. Yes, everyone always wants to say the 4-year cycle is different this time, but every single time it plays out very similarly. In fact, the prediction was that the top would come in on October 6th, and it did. And then people have been coping. Even Ben Cowan, when the 50-week EMA was broken, when this level was broken, I remember he started saying, oh, well, you know what? Maybe it's not over. Maybe it'll retest and come up. No. One thing that we know is in every bull cycle, once the 50-week moving average is broken or breached on Bitcoin, that's the bear market. People want to keep changing it every single time. This time is different are the most dangerous words in this space. Also, it's very important you know how to use indicators. One of the things I told you guys, fear and greed is a fantastic indicator in the bull market. Once we're in a bear market, this thing's worthless. I don't look at the fear and greed index anymore because if I did, I would be buying down here. I would have been buying in this red area, and I still don't think that's a worthwhile place to bid. I'm going to share with you where I think is a worthwhile place to bid. Okay? So ignore this. And for the time being, I think Bitcoin is the only thing that you should be accumulating. Still, I don't think the time is right to buy that yet, but I think that's what you should prioritize. Going back to 2022 and 2023, my average Bitcoin price was between 15 to 20,000 US. And when I left Canada, I had sold that Bitcoin that I had bought at 96,000. So that was about a 5 to a 6x. These are the actual gains that you can make. A 5 to 6x on Bitcoin is insane. What else did you get What else did you get a 500 to 600% on that wasn't some ridiculously risky investment, right? So being able to get in a very good position on Bitcoin and being able to hold on to it for about 1.5 to 2 years will pay dividends for you. So this is the thing I want you guys to focus on. Every other idiot is going to tell you, no, go buy Solana, go buy Ethereum, go buy blah, 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 whatever. These things have a lot less consistency and they're just not as safe and they have tons of emissions. I just don't like doing that. I'm not saying there's something wrong with ETH or Sol. They are decent tokens in their own right, but they just don't have the same level of safety. And if you're going to make a 6x on Bitcoin, like if you would make a 6x on ETH, you should always pick Bitcoin. Why? Because Bitcoin is safer. You have to be outperforming that 5 to 6x return on Bitcoin with a significant margin to justify taking on additional risk. Okay? So this is the Bitcoin chart. Let me just sort of go through it. So explain this to you. So what I have done is I have drawn the Fibonacci levels. I went from the bottom of the range here, right? So this is about 15K right here, November 2022, all the way to the top in October, 126, okay? When I've done that, if you take a look at these ranges, what's happened is every single cycle, and I'll show this some other time, I don't have time today, but basically we have gone and dipped between the 0.618 and the 0.79 region of this range. So that means somewhere between 57.8K and 38.7K. So in this area will be the area to buy your Bitcoin. Now, one of the things people like to do is, well, I'd rather buy down here. And obviously everyone would rather buy closer to 38.7K than 58K. But we don't know where it's going to end. And you don't want to end up waiting for a number that doesn't come. So the thing you want to do is create a plan. You want to create the plan now when you're not emotional. You want to say, okay, if I'm looking over here, maybe I'll buy, if I want to put 100K into Bitcoin, let's say that's me. Let's say I'm putting 100K into Bitcoin, okay? Maybe I'll buy 10% at 57.8K. I'll buy another 10% at 55K or 53K. Then I'll buy 25% at 50K. Then I buy some more over here. Save my bigger buys for the bottom of that range, but at least getting enough exposure that if it runs without me, I'm not going to chase it. Because what typically happens is people like being greedy both ways. They don't want to sell near the top. Oh my God, it's going to keep going up. And they definitely don't want to buy near bottoms. So what'll happen is you'll have this come down. Okay, great. And then it goes like this potentially. And then if you're waiting down here, you got nothing. Or it even goes to here and you still didn't buy, because as we see a lot of times, as the price goes down, people keep revising their buy targets. Oh, okay. You say you're going to buy at 47K. It comes to 49K. You're like, oh, I'm going to buy at 40K, no longer 47. People literally do that. You have to make the plan ahead of time and stick to it. People get too emotional and they keep changing because they're afraid the price will keep going down. Remember, at the end of the day, if you end up buying majority of Bitcoin between 45K and 38K, is it going to make a big difference when Bitcoin is 250K? No, it won't. It definitely won't. Let me just sort of go here, right? So like you're going to look over here and it's going to mean nothing to you, because what's going to happen is we had our capitulation, right? So you have your capitulation in Bitcoin, which is just the big move down, right? So this is a scary move, 125K down to 63K in the course of like 3 months. But the next and more frustrating one will be this. Like having to wait this out. And it won't be that long. It'll probably be like, like, who knows? It could be something like this. It could be something like this. Who knows, right? Obviously, I'm not drawing it to scale because I believe we'll be up before 2028, right? Sometime in 2027 likely, or end of 26. But these are the long-term capitulation, because what happens is as the chart trades sideways, people just go, okay, well, nothing's happening here. I'm going to go put my money in something else. But actually, the sideways movement is exactly what you want to see, because that's where you get the spring from, right? Let's just take a look over here. So this was happened in 2022, right? So we went June 13th, we're 20K, and March 6th, we're still like 20K, right? That's like 9 months of sideways action. People get bored. People get, anxious, and they move their money. Don't let that happen to you. Get yourself positioned into Bitcoin, and this allows you to get what I believe will be the easiest 4 to 6x this cycle. Minimum, if you get in properly. Now, here's why I don't like Ethereum. Ethereum has a lot of tailwinds. I've invested in Ethereum for a long time. In the upcoming cycle, I will not be buying any Ethereum. Why? Because number one, Ethereum is a victim to its own success. When I was buying Ethereum in 2020 and 2021, part of the reason was every time I bought an NFT on OpenSea, it would cost me like 0.2 ETH or 0.3 ETH. And sometimes that transaction would fail, right? Well, now the transactions cost like 10 cents, 20 cents, 50 cents because they work on the blobs. So people no longer need to actually spend tons of Ethereum as gas. Not to mention the Ethereum Foundation loves to sell at 4K. And even beyond that, like just every single time we're in this range, I drew this blue box for the Web3 Secret Society in the summer when we had gone up here and I told them on August 18th to sell, which like I showed over here, right? August 18th. Well, that ended up being right here, right? Literally right here. And I remember using this chart because I'm like, look, this is the entire history of Ethereum above 4K. Do you really want to be holding it? Once you put it that way, answer is no. And it's come down significantly, right? So Ethereum will likely still go up. It'll likely go to like 4, 6K, whatever. In my opinion, that's not a good enough bounce for me. And I would rather look at Ethereum Beta or other good protocols that I believe are good. Now, I will give you one of the 3 tokens that I do think is a good investment outside Bitcoin, and that is Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid is very, very strong. Where are we? Right? So you can see here, Hyperliquid, literally super strong. And I believe that we will come down when Bitcoin capitulates to like the between $14 and $12 range. So I'm waiting for this. This is a great spot to get positioned in. And I believe that, it will probably see 3 digits in the upcoming cycle. Very, very strong token, very, very strong community. And, all the airdrops that have come out, it's the one that's held up the best. You have the token buyback that's been going on and upgrades, right? So like you see, like you can trade commodities, you can trade stocks, everything. So like it's, pretty good, like what they've been doing here. It's going to be the future of finance and everything. I'm super glad I sold my Hyperliquid above, not all of it like above 50, but I sold probably within this range, like somewhere in this range. So very, very happy I cut my position then. And this gives me the ability to buy and reload for the future. Okay. So the one last thing I want to leave you guys on, today we won't be doing that big of a live stream, but I will be answering questions. So if you do have questions, please put them in the comments. Always is taking a look at NVIDIA, which had record earnings, right? They crushed it, record profits and revenue, still not good enough. Investors want more, they want more, they want more. And every single time the stock, because I've also invested in the stock market and I share sort of stock market signals that I take in the group as well. One example I'll give you, Microsoft. I'll just share that in a second. But basically for Microsoft, I have a thesis basically every time that a Mag 7 stock touches the 200-week moving average, buying opportunity. So gave the signal to the group a few days ago at 386 or whatever, and it's up about a few percent. It's up to 400 right now. Very, very good buy. Once again, very solid, very safe and everything, as long as we're not in a recession, which I do believe we are on the periphery of, right? And NVIDIA is a very good example of exactly what's wrong with this market, which is doesn't matter how good your earnings and profit is, the market is just not happy, right? Lots of stocks have bottomed, and it's only a matter of time until we see a sort of massive correction, right? Every 18.6 years, we get this. Likely this correction will happen, this massive correction will likely happen at the end of the year or at the start of 2027. So I do have a lot of capital sidelined outside the market, waiting to get in, waiting for those opportunities. I have some exposure because right now you don't want to just sit there in cash only, otherwise you're subject to inflation. So in Dubai, we do have bank accounts that give us between 4 to 6%, depending on whether or not that money is salaried versus regular. But still, that's still better than it just sitting there getting nothing and losing purchasing power. So just something else I want you to keep top of mind, okay? And other thing that I'll mention here is Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, which is, best investor ever, is sitting 53% in cash, 47% equities. So that should tell you all you need to know. This is a man who basically believes that you need to have your money invested, but they've sold most of their holdings off and they are literally waiting for the opportunity to redeploy that capital. Okay. Now, when these corrections do happen, that doesn't mean all stocks will go down. Things that we've been investing in the private group, like oil. So the oil sector was something we got into about a month and a half ago. So this is like Exxon Finance. This is Chevron. This is crude oil. They're up a ton of money. They're up a ton. And, the members in the private group got that signal. They got in, been profiting off it. Those stocks will actually do well when the market corrects, whereas like tech won't. So it's about making sure you're invested in the right sectors to take advantage of this. Same thing goes besides energy with precious metals, right? So we got into precious metals a long time ago, gold, silver, etc. I'm fully out of both right now because I believe the top was coming. I called the top maybe a week prior to it, but I'll cover all of this in a future live stream. So let's see who's in the comments over here. We got Varanthos. Welcome back, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. Just finished work. Great time in school. Testy Vesta. It's great to see the stream. Take care of yourself. Thank you, CM Silver. Hey, Jeremy. Hey, Macho. I'm doing good. Thank you. What I think about Solstice Finance, honestly not worth it. Larry, here's my commentary when it comes to farming in protocols where you have to put liquidity. Always during these harsh times and the bear market's going on, oh my God, surprise, we had an exploit. Oh my God, we couldn't have seen this coming. Oh, well, thanks so much for playing, guys. We'll see you next time. We're going to come back stronger than ever as a new project. Sorry, no refunds. This happens time and time again. Please do not let yourself suffer at the hands of a team exploit or insider exploit or whatever. These things just tend to happen when the bear market happens. So I don't like having any funds on any protocol when that's going on. The only exception are perp dexes, and that's because of the airdrop farming. So lighter, I got like 18,000 US airdrop or something like that. I had money in variational and NATO for the same reason, but I spread my money around so it's not sitting there like, just so I can get one hit. Do I expect that BTC won't do as well? So the problem is Bitcoin never existed in 2008, right? So we don't know, but I treat Bitcoin like a tech asset, right? So, I look at Bitcoin like I would look at Tesla during this. And I think that when this happens, Bitcoin will come down, but I think it will recover just the same. So this is why it is so important to not be buying the dip like the people on Twitter are saying. These people on Twitter are saying, oh, buy the dip, whatever. And then 2 months later, oh yeah, time to start buying now. Like they're just full of shit. They're all liars. Most of the people on Twitter who have 20,000 plus followers, they have no money and they just literally post things because they're getting paid to do so. The most recent one is around Sonic, where the Sonic team looks like they're paying a bunch of influencers who were promoting Say and everything to come bull post a token, which has dropped to 3 or 4 cents now, all the way from like $1.80 or $2, right? And that's because the team was doing tons of emissions and basically mismanaged the entire protocol. And even beyond that, like honestly, how many chains do we need, right? Solana, Ethereum, and Hyperliquid are good enough. And when I say Ethereum, obviously I'm talking about like Base and Arbitrum, right? And Ethereum mainnet to a lesser extent. Also, I noticed you got the Eclipse NFT. I forget what it was called again. Alucard's, After School Club Heroes or whatever, right? Surprised you're still using that. But yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that NFT. But yeah, I'm not too worried about Bitcoin. I think that this, by the way, is an opportunity. This is a once in every like 20-year opportunity that you're going to get assets at very low prices, which is why I'm sitting there with a ton of sideline capital. And I'm going to be buying the highest safety assets in the classes I want. So that's why Bitcoin will be definitively the one thing I buy. And then I'll buy the other 3 alts later. And the same thing goes for stocks. I'll be buying into the S&P 500 and VTI. And the reason for that basically is just so like VOO and VTI. And the reason for that is I'm going to be able to get a very good discount on those, maybe up to 40, 50% potentially. Who knows, right? Depending on how deep that is. And then I'm going to sit back and stand pat. Okay. Hey, Art Nickfield. Art Nickfield, how's it going? Ajinomoto, thank you. Thoughts on abstract farming? I have put a pause on farming abstract. I'm just getting the minimum 10,000 XP every single month. One of the easiest ways you can get XP right now is just providing liquidity on their platform. So just putting like USDC, because like Luca Net's not gonna rock with abstract, right? They got Pudgy Penguins and they're not gonna do that. That being said, abstract is not going to launch a token in the bear market. They made it very, very clear. So I would not prioritize it as much. Just like, if you can get XP, cool. That's basically it. And the best way to get XP on abstract is just holding onto assets. And you don't even need to hold their token. You can hold USDC on their chain and literally it will earn you XP, right? So that's what I would do. And it's probably better to do it when no one else is like competing for it. So you get a higher share of the XP. And that's basically it. But I think perp dexes are a way better farming opportunity. So extended and variational are really good. I've been using variational to short. It's been great. I made a video on it about a month ago. And then, I was having internet issues. I was moving and still like wasn't fully back to normal. So yeah. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. One last reminder, if you are interested, if you want to change the trajectory of this cycle, if you want to make sure that you like literally crush it, highly recommend you check out the Web3 Secret Society. If you don't like it, leave after a month. But I'm telling you, if you join it, I guarantee you that you likely won't leave. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.